we'll start then. Good morning everyone. So we are back with current affairs discussion again. So there are about 5 to 6 topics that I am going to discuss today, and this is the first topic here, economic reforms looking back to look ahead. This article appeared in Hindu itself. It is written by former IAS officer D.N. Gupta, right? Of course, it is an old topic, everyone knows what is LPG reforms and all, but whenever question comes for you to evaluate LPG reforms, you will write an answer. Everybody knows what is the answer there. Everybody can write an answer here, but how will you perform yourself so that you will have an edge over others? That is why we need to discuss these things, right? Every time the relevance of LPG reforms keeps changing, we have to stick our analysis to the contemporary aspects every time, right? Definitely LPG reforms have brought in tremendous reforms or tremendous changes in our economic sector. As the article itself mentioned, like our forex exchange reserves have increased. What are the forex exchange reserves now? Around 642 billion now. 1 second. Okay, around $642 billion, right? So it is enough for us to survive for almost 1 year, I think. It is enough to survive for 1 year of our imports. Will increase, but LPG reforms has helped us to improve our forex exchange reserves. We can, if at all there is some kind of BOP crisis again, what will it happen? We'll be able to again survive for 1 more year, right? That 1 year will be enough for us to plan something, to do bring some changes again. But that is acting as a cushion for us, right? So India will not face severe BOP crisis that we have faced in the year 1991 because of this forex reserves, okay? And then of course GDP, where is it? Here, almost an average 6 to 8% of GDP we have witnessed. And there was a time between 2010 to 2000 or somewhere between 2005 to 2010, we have witnessed almost 9% GDP, even more than this average, okay? And definitely there is rise in exports, right? Manufacturing sector has seen certain growth in performance towards GDP. And what is the contribution of manufacturing sector towards GDP now? It is almost 16%, and we have this what is called as national manufacturing policy, which is aiming to increase this manufacturing base, manufacture sector contribution to GDP to 25%. But even now we are unable to do because of some of the problems that we need to discuss about. And definitely the software sector, the information, the tertiary sector, right? This has been, what do you say, some kind of push for our GDP. It has been more active in pushing our GDP, right? The software experts, the software sector, okay, IT sector, it contributes around more than 50% to our GDP, right? Even employment generation has been seen in this sector mostly, right? In that aspect, see the information and communication technology and software sector exports, okay, all these things, right? The share in global exports from India, it has reached from 0.6% to 1.8%. Though it is small in terms of numbers, it is a very huge thing, okay? In terms of numbers, in percentage wise, it might be looking very small for you guys, okay? But so far, what are the problems that we faced? Most of us know, most of us will write in an answer that there is a jobless growth, jobs haven't been created enough. What else? Manufacturing sector has been bypassed. Service sector has seen more increase or more contribution towards GDP, or manufacturing sector has stagnated. Those are certain problems, technical or else structural problems that we have faced. However, one of the factors, the key drivers of our economy that we have missed, okay, that is what the author is trying to say. The human capital formation, the technology readiness that we should have, or the labor productivity that we should focus upon, right? These aspects like institutional capacities of our public institutions or even our private institutions, the capital expenditure in the economy, it has not been up to the mark. That is what the author is trying to say. So in detail, if we see individually, all the things are interconnected. In comparative terms, in human capital formation, right, human capital formation, according to Global Human Capital Report, India ranks at 1/3 rank, but see the relatively comparative countries, South Korea, it ranks at 27, China ranks at 34 at human capital formation, which shows that there is poor skill development, right? There are inadequacies in basic health care provisions, right? And then of course education, right? Education doesn't literally means we need improvement of literacy. Every year, every 10 years we will see the census coming, literacy percentage has increased. That is not the aspect of education. Education talks, we should focus upon improving quality of our education, right? Education reforms are necessary. Structural and systematic reforms are required. We cannot sit back and follow our colonial rules, colonial way of studying. We are still continuing that. That should be changing. So when this kind of human capital formation is seen in our country, how can you expect that labor productivity will be more? And according to Deloitte, it has conducted a research. It said that specifically, it's not Deloitte, I think Deloitte talked about disposable income, but anyway, labor productivity, if labor productivity is more, they will be having more disposable income. Anyway, we'll come to that connectivity. Labor productivity is actually less than 10% of the productivity seen in countries like South Korea, and labor productivity is 40% of China's. We have still longer way to go. And then when labor productivity is poor, this labor productivity is poor, labor will not be having proper wages, and that is where Deloitte has provided some inputs here. Deloitte said that hourly wages of Indian labor are approximately around $1.7, and that is in China it is $3.3, and it is in South Korea it is $20 approximately. Of course, if you take USA it is $38. So these are the parameters. When you say that this is the wage that is provided to the labor, and that is a lower way, how will they have an income which they can use it to dispose to consume products in the economy? When there is no consumption in the economy, how will you generate production in the economy? That connectivity lies there, no? And production improves, only when production improves, the GDP will increase, right? So definitely these are all three connected topics here. And then lastly the capital expenditure here. What is the public expenditure? Capital expenditure, it hovers around somewhere around 0.8% of our GDP. In comparative terms, South Korea spends 4% and China spends 2% in capital expenditure in percentages of their GDP, right? So when this low capital expenditure is seen, how will you ensure that there is innovation, connectivity again? Capital expenditure or public expenditure towards research and development is required. So how will you create an innovative atmosphere, or how will you ensure innovation takes place in the economy, which is very much required? See the connectivity here. And then there is a scholar, Nobel laureate Douglas, said that institutional capacity is very much important in order to create an environment for business, right? He categorically stated, okay, so when such a great person is stating something, it has a value there. So our institutional capacities, our public institutions have not been friendly for business friendly atmosphere. Though we are improving in ease of doing business itself is having certain lacunas, that it covers the data only from Delhi and Mumbai. What is the rest of the, where is the data from rest of the country? It is not really ease of doing business. You are getting my point, no? See the connectivities that is there in whole. So business friendly atmosphere, if you go further, you should talk about lack of infrastructure or underutilization of infrastructure in the economy. That is also one of the aspects. If infrastructure is poor, how will the businesses feel that we have a stable or better environment? Or else any other political reasons also, we can say political instability in some or the other way can create an atmosphere for bad atmosphere for business investments. Jammu Kashmir is an example, right? So in that aspect, now you tell me, what are the things that we should do now? At least 3 things. We should never neglect this human capital formation and promotion to R&D. And it is suggested that combinedly we should reach this expenditure towards these 2 sectors to 8% of our GDP combinedly. Of national education policy, what is the target that was set? No? 4.5% of GDP. That is the target set in our national education policy. That is also far reaching. We do not know whether it will be fruitful or not. Okay, targets are set. It is easy to set targets, but reaching that goal is a little difficult. Same happens with our UPSC preparation too, right? Anyway, so first thing. Next, see, institutional capacity is definitely the third thing. Second thing, we should definitely focus upon in building our institutional capacities. That is why government of India has created these certain institutions like Invest India. Like e-biz portals are there for faster registration of companies. And it is said that in order to start a business in a country like New Zealand, it takes only 1 hour to start a business. They'll just go into the office, sit there for 1 hour and come back. Their business is online or offline. It is done there. In India, it almost takes more than 1 year, approximately 1 year or even more. Okay. What else? What else can you think? Recommendations only. Whatever the problems are there only we need to intervene, no? Capital expenditure, of course, that is all included here. Definitely if you focus on here several areas like innovation, labor productivity. Lastly, we need to prepare for future revolutions that are taking place in industry 4.0. What is industry 4.0? Okay, industry which is driven by aspects of artificial intelligence, data science, Internet of Things, right? And in these aspects, what is the nature of technology that you can see? Nature of technology. Technology is fast depreciating. You see cell phones, if you try to buy your cell phone after 1 month of use, you will sell it at half a price of your purchase. So technology is fastly, reaching its depreciation stage. So we need to be always ready with the technology readiness attitude. That kind of atmosphere is not seen in our country. Technology readiness, every time we need to be fast and improving our technology. That kind of aspect is not seen. In order to prepare such kind of technology readiness atmosphere in our country, definitely these aspects are very much important. Are you getting my point, no? These kind of systemic and structural reforms are required. Okay. I think now you will write some answer which is different from others, right? Definitely. Okay, let us move on to the next topic, national monetization pipeline, and it has been in news. So analysis of this aspect is very much important, and there were 2 articles that appeared, but in combine I'll deal. Okay, let us not separate them and look at it. We'll combine and see whole picture of national monetization pipeline. Is it, when talk about privatization, is it better than privatization? These are the aspects that we should talk about. Niti Aayog said that there are 2 aims for this national monetization pipeline. One is to create a virtuous cycle of development, commission, monetization and investment in the economy. Okay, government will receive the commission. It will monetize the asset so that there is a better cash flow in the economy, and then it will increase investments, it will attract investments, private sector involvement, and thereby development can be assured. That kind of virtuous cycle is being planned with this national monetization pipeline. And then secondly, it wants to bring in certain brownfield projects into the private sector into the private sector participation. Why particularly brownfield? These are the aspects, 2 aims that are mentioned by Niti Aayog. Now tell me, what are these advantages now, benefits with this pipeline? Anyway, there is a topic called resource mobilization in our GS paper 3. It will help in bettering our resource mobilization. It will generate cash flows in the economy, and it will also create technical and human resource capabilities in infrastructure development. Resource mobilization of not only money but also people in their capacity development, right? And secondly, these underutilized public assets are actually burden to us itself. We are paying taxes to maintain these underutilized public assets, and what is the use of those underutilized public assets lying idle? So the tax burden on the people will be little bit diluted in this sense, right? Tax liability. Next, can you think of any other aspects? Tax liability. Anyway, it is this small topic, but government ownership did not change. That is what happens, no? If Vizag steel plant is, there is huge hue and cry in our economy. So government ownership is not changing. Private players will be coming in and operating and maintaining that public asset. It is a win-win situation for both. Win-win for both government and private players. Right? Government will receive some kind of fair value in what is leasing or renting out that asset. Some kind of money government will receive. And then private players will have that operational flexibility to run that. Is it better than privatization? LPG reforms, privatization is there, no? Is it better than privatization? In privatization, there is transfer of ownership of assets. There is huge hue and cry that, okay, people will lose their jobs. Okay, government will not have any say. There is no welfare. Private sector, there is hire and fire policy. There is no employment security there. There are profit motive. Public sector is not just profit motive. Small analogy, we can take care of it. See, you have your own house, now you are living in a rented house. How will you treat those two things? Now you are taking public assets as rent. How will you treat those public assets as rent? Will you take care of in such a way that you will take care of that the way you will take care of your own house? No. That is the problem, that that we are seeing with this. But it is considered as better alternative to privatization because privatization has some problems with it, and it is said that it is a better alternative. Bidding. Sorry. In order to make sure that this pipeline works, bidding process should be very robust, very transparent, and which should include participation of as many private players as possible. Then only government will receive better commission, and also you will see that private player who is more serious in maintaining that asset properly will be winning the bidding. Okay? So bidding process should be very transparent, and right now we haven't created any kind of atmosphere that bidding process will be, it is not specified properly how the bidding process will be taking place. Secondly, it is said that huge private players will only be able to win this bidding process, in the sense that small investors, small players will be losing, and it can create a situation of cronyism. That is what this article also told. Cronyism. Yeah, some kind of monopolistic things can happen.
And what is
right?
From 1991 reforms, we have to release monopoly.
Monopoly. Anyway, so LPG reforms leading to monopoly, it depends upon the players, participation of players itself. But government cannot every time come and help every private player so that monopoly does not exist. That is why we have Competition Commission of India. These are all there. They are regulating this kind of activities. It is not just about monopoly. It is about realization of fair value for the government, and at the same time making sure that public asset is not misused or not improperly used by any private player. Private player who is serious in maintaining that public asset properly should be given the opportunity. So for that, bidding process should be very robust. Okay. And the third problem is the participation of private players. Will private players come and participate? How will you encourage that private players will come and participate? Because the ownership of assets is with the government. At any point of time, government can come and slash these private players and take away their asset back. So how will you encourage the private players' participation in this bidding process? If at all that happens, what about small private players? These are the three aspects that we should be focusing on while implementing this national monetization pipeline. Okay, majorly three. You can write as many problems that you face in your exam, but anyway, majorly these three will fetch you marks. Right? So next topic, why hasn't marital rape been criminalized in India yet? How do we define marital rape? I think that
It is
consensuous? No, it is not based on consensus. It is a sexual act committed without consensus of a wife by her husband. Right? So why is it in use in the context of recent Chhattisgarh High Court verdict? It has discharged one person, husband, under section 375 of IPC. Under this section, there is an exception 2 which provides exemption to these marital rape cases. Husband will not be charged of rape cases in case of marital rape. Right, section 375 of IPC, the exemption is there. But what is the trend? Trend is almost 2/3 of India's women population aged between 15 to 45 years are found to be exploited sexually by their husbands. Right? Where will you get this data? in your answer, whenever you're substantiating your view, it will give you more marks. When you define marital rape, if this question itself comes, you'll define marital rape. In order to substantiate your view that it is a very big problem, you need to provide this data. Substantiation of your views is very important. Right? Even in your essay writing, you'll write a statement, but you need to prove that statement by substantiating with relevant facts, with relevant examples. Okay? But anyway, tell me, what are the issues? Why haven't we make this marital rape as a criminal offense? There are several reasons. What are social reasons? Tell me first.
Women is the husband's property.
We can write many things. Considering marriage as a sacrosanct institution, there is something called doctrine of coverture. In this, which says that a wife is always identified with her husband. That is what that doctrine of coverture says. So, legally what we are doing is that it is assumed after marriage that woman always gives consent for her husband, so that it is a very vague thing to believe in these present times, right? When we are pushing towards women empowerment, providing bodily autonomy, equality, equal protection of people, how can we say that marriage is very sacrosanct? And legally, second dimension, legally, there are inconsistencies in our IPC itself. There are provisions that husband can be charged for sexual harassment, for beating, for some kind of domestic violence. There are sections, but why not for marital rape? Women can even apply for divorce for such in such events taking place. So why is it that marital rape is only specifically protected? That inconsistency cannot take place in any law, right? That inconsistency still persists in India. And one more reason for that inconsistency is role of our public institutions. Supreme Court in Joseph Shine case in 2018 said that adultery is unconstitutional, and it has also lost an opportunity in a case called independent thought. In this case, in the year 2017, in this case, Supreme Court said that if wife is below 18 years, that will be charged, the husband will be charged with the case of marital rape under POCSO Act, POCSO. So why is it different that below 18 years and above 18 years the bodily autonomy of women will change? The rights of women will change? It is very peculiar that Supreme Court has lost the opportunity there to correct this section of 375 of marital rape. Is it not anyways, Supreme Court has taken very drastic, verdicts, has given drastic verdicts by decriminalizing section 377. Right? So why not? The Supreme Court has somewhere lost the opportunity in correcting this particular issue, and even the Parliament has not been responsive. So there are many women parliamentarians sitting there. So why are they not raising the issue? When you talk about that whole, what it is said that, it is said the same thing you are saying. It is said that if we criminalize this marital rape, okay, the same thing, the sanctity of marriage will be losing, and women's decision making, there will be more and more domestic violence can take place. But on the experience of other countries who have criminalized this marital rape has been different. Women are getting more and more respect in their marriage institution, and after entering their marriage institutions, it was seen from the experience of the world. So why will it be different in India only? No, it is not different. Once you do that change and see what is happening in that change, only then you will be able to, you don't live in your dreams of visualizing these things will happen. Illusion, living in an illusion. Right? Anyway, these are the issues that are present here. And there is one more thing which is said, that if we try to criminalize this thing, there will be rise in false complaints, as though now complaints are more. These are the things that the arguments, people who wants to put arguments in favor of this not criminalizing this marital rape will tell about every time. But the same logic when applied is actually wrong for them itself. Okay, so this is what marital rape and the issues in the law society. Okay, so this article appeared in Live Mint. Okay, millets could help India mitigate malnutrition and climate change. So this topic is, why I picked up is because it covers GS1, it covers GS3, environmental aspect, right? GS1, where will you see this GS1 question coming up, or else geography related question? In NCERTs you will see what are the conditions necessary for growing of millets. What are those conditions? Tell me. Red soil. Okay, in soil you can say it, we can, even in sandy soil it can be grown. Okay, even in low rainfall conditions, yeah, semi rainfall or okay, it can withstand drought as well as flood conditions. It can withstand extreme temperatures. Okay, so these are the conditions. Okay, millets are grown even in Rajasthan, in our country, right? And in that aspect, India, where does India stand here? India is largest producer, having 41% market share. See, and annual growth rate is 4.5%. It is very huge. Okay, agriculture sector especially having this 4.5% annual growth rate. What is the annual growth rate of agricultural sector, whole agricultural sector in India recently? 1.8%. Okay, now within that the millet sector is growing at 4.5%, which is very significant, right? So there are certain questions, okay, I don't know whether it will be framed in prelims or not. They will consider what are the following from the following, what are the products which can be called as millets. They might ask that question. We can never expect. We can go through it. Okay, but how it will help India? Tell me. How it will help India mitigate malnutrition and climate change? Talk about climate change and all. Tell me how it will help. See, for climate change, agriculture, agriculture, there is a carbon footprint for agricultural sector. Rice, paddy production, you will see the production of methane gas. It is greenhouse gas. Same thing, in such a way every agricultural product has a carbon footprint, and it is considered that millets have very less carbon footprint compared to wheat and rice, right? And then it is said that millet production does not require chemical fertilizers, or it requires very less chemical fertilizers. In that sense, it is going to protect soil quality. It is going to address land degradation problems that agriculture sector is facing. Ecosystem restoration can happen by production of millets. So it is very important in order to make agriculture sector a circular economy. Okay, sustainable circular economy. This millet production is very much essential. What else can you think? It can withstand drought, it can withstand floods, so it is climate resilient, right? One more aspect is biofuel or ethanol blending or ethanol production. Millets are very useful again. And it is said that cost of production and even the productivity of ethanol using these millets is more than the maize that we grow in our country. So what is the program that we are having with regard to ethanol blending? National Ethanol Blending Program. What is the recent update? What is the target that government has set? Reaching 20% blending by the year 2025. It is very much required in order to reduce our import bill and also make this our cities less polluting and all, right? Ethanol blending, production of ethanol, millets are very useful again. In this way you can write how it will help mitigate climate change and how it will help mitigate malnutrition. Is there any scheme that we are running now for addressing malnutrition? Does anyone know? There is a scheme but you don't know. National Nutrition Mission. In order to achieve the goals that are present in National Nutrition Mission, we need to address malnutrition, and that can be done through millets. Millets will ensure dietary diversity. It can ensure that we can fight hidden hunger in our economy. Now with rice and wheat everybody is eating, but we can see the rise of non-communicable diseases in India like diabetes. For diabetes patient, millets food is highly recommended by nutritional doctors, right? Oh, okay, yeah, pandemic also, and that means it is a good thing, right? Now there is a rising demand for millets, and so farmers will have more beneficial. They'll have income security. Chemical fertilizers are low, so cost of production is low for them, right? So there is rising demand. The same urbanization and industrialization which took over the production of wheat with rice and wheat, now same industrialization and urbanization is reversing the trend now. What else? Is there, apart from malnutrition and climate change, what else can you think? Of course, farmers. What else? Is it anyway linked to women empowerment? Okay, there is in Odisha, there is a scheme called Odisha Millet Mission. In that almost 7.4 billion women have become agripreneurs through this millet production. That is the outcome of Odisha's Millet Mission program, right? But however, consider what are the issues, what are the problems, what are the challenges? Tell me now. What are the issues, challenges? See, in public distribution system, what are we distributing to the poor? Rice, wheat, some pulses, kerosene, Sugar is also fair price shops are there. Okay, we will consider sugar also. So, while not including millets, how can we fight malnutrition? Right? And third, minimum support price. Rice, wheat are attracting more price from the government. What about millets? If such kinds of skewed MSP regime is there, how will farmers be encouraged to produce millets? And at the same time, between farmers and consumers, there are huge chunk of middlemen sitting, and they drive away profits. And whenever there is an opportunity, this middleman will tap that opportunity.
That is was formulas.
That is with regard to formulas also. Obviously, when we are talking about particular aspect within the agriculture, that formulas comes into the picture. If you want to write that dimension, you can write. Right? UPSC is having such a freedom that it gives you guys a lot of freedom, but thing is that you need to bring those things in a logical way, so that when an examiner sees your statements, okay, it is relevant, it is logical in mentioning it, right? So that is with regard to millets. And next article is about Assam phasing out of pushing towards electric vehicles by the year 2030. Assam phasing out fossil fuel based vehicles by 2030. So it is planning to promote electric vehicles movement in its state. At almost 2 lakhs electric vehicles as a goal has been set. So government vehicles or public buses should be electric vehicles by 2030. That is what the goal that is set by the Assam government. And for it is trying to provide certain incentives to the people as well as the manufacturers, saying that I will provide 100% exemption value by electric vehicles from road tax, from registration fee. You need not pay all these things. You just buy electric vehicles. And the same thing, electricity duty or all these things will be paid by manufacturing companies and all. 90% exemption, I think. Yeah. Electricity duty. Whoever are establishing these EV charging stations. But anyway, these are all facts. Anyway, let us see, why do we need electric vehicles? Tell me. Now come to the analysis.
Reduce the carbon emissions, vehicular emissions.
Okay.
Fossil fuels, traditional means of.
Same thing here.
It's not replenishable, sir. It will be non-replenishable.
Okay.
We can save it for the future, like sustainable, for the future. We can save it.
Okay. Sustainable development, yes.
To reduce our oil imports.
Very good. Energy security, right? Else? You know the points, but each one is giving one point. Actually, you need to write all those points in combined. Right, come on.
To prevent environmental issues.
Is it so? Environmental issues. But saying it is one thing, but substantiating it is another level actually. So one thing, it will help in addressing our climate change, pollution through the burning of oil, offsetting the problem of burning of oil. Of course, your problem is there. That we should talk about that in a way that these are technological challenges that we are going to face. That means the efficiency of producing energy or electricity should be improved in our country. And especially there is no stable EV policy in our country. When there is no stable EV policy, how will you attract investments? Because EV sector is a huge requires huge finances, and it is a long-term project. Not in one go you set up industry and product is coming out. No, it is a long-term project. So India requires a stable electric vehicle policy, and definitely Assam, it has done a very good work. 100% exemption and 90% exemption, right? And definitely there is rising demand. Now what is the price of petrol? 105, diesel 98. Can you name what is the price of CNG or LPG? 50 rupees, 60 rupees, 58 rupees LPG. See the difference. Same thing can happen with electric vehicles. So the consumption of people or cost of traveling for people will drastically reduce. But in order to create that kind of atmosphere, we need to have a strong, stable electric vehicle policy in our country in order to attract that investments to come up. Right? What else can you think? What are the challenges? So India is at a disadvantaged position because of the technological backwardness in our country. Why is it so? Because the electric vehicles production requires some backbone industries like semiconductors production, like battery production, which is not present in India. That backbone is required for electric vehicles production. The technological challenge is there, and India does not have raw materials. What is required to build a battery or make a battery? What are the products, raw materials required? Lithium or anything else? Cobalt. These kind of things, availability of raw materials. Whoever have these raw materials will be in huge benefit, like oil. Whoever are having oil reserves right now in West Asian countries, they are living in riches. Now, whoever is having lithium reserves in their economy might see same thing happening like the West.
Demand for chips in this pandemic, like because of digital transformation.
Chips, okay, but we do not have that. Again, we cannot make manufacturing of chips making in within our soil is more cheaper than importing them. Kada. You're getting my point, no? Such kind of strong backbone is not there, and there is lack of associated infrastructure also. Infrastructure support is required. Till now, we haven't been able to decide what kind of charging stations that we need to deploy. Should they run through AC or DC systems? Which will charge the battery faster? Of course, there are such kind of challenges. And depreciation of battery life is one more challenge. Battery production or battery technology hasn't been so robust. There is a lot of research and development that is required. And in the first topic when we are discussing what is the government expenditure on research and development, 0.8%. So there are several things which you should ponder upon in order to push electric vehicles policy. Private sector has to play a role, and it is playing a role, okay? See the variety of vehicles, variety of companies that are coming up. Okay? And there are small players who are transforming the TVS vehicle and attaching them some kind of battery and motor and then trying to run them. That kind of innovation is taking place, but it requires that kind of innovation requires encouragement. Right? That atmosphere is required.